helping you solve the retirement puzzle. Welcome to The Retirement Solution with John Hicks.
Nearly 2/3 of respondents to a Northwestern Mutual survey say they are not working with a financial advisor. Jack Otter, an associate publisher of Barron's, tells Fox Business there are too many moving parts in a retirement strategy to try and go it alone.
People tend not to do really dumb things. They make lots and lots of very small decisions that are wrong because they don't have the expertise. You know, they tap the Roth 401k first. Most advisors in most cases say, you know what, save that, let it compound without taxes and tap the other sources. So that's very technical, but there's lots of little decisions that you make correctly if you have advice.
I feel like you have opinions about his first comment there about people tend not to do really dumb things.
Well, I think he said people tend to not make dumb decisions, and I disagree. Having just come back from spring break in Florida, I can tell you right now, there are a plethora, a myriad of people who make really dumb decisions fortnightly. So I'm just saying, I don't know about the original piece of the puzzle. No, the other piece of the puzzle I find intriguing because I get this all the time. I get this all the time because I agree with you if you're out there saying, I can do this on my own. Listen, I can go this road. I am good at it. I'm a genius to the markets and I can make more money than anyone I know. I tell you what, I've met a lot of you and you guys are great at it. Unfortunately, there comes a time in our lives where making the money is different than harvesting or distributing the money. Okay. And that's where people like me step in. It's a really big deal. So if you're out there and you're saying, man, I don't need this John guy. I can make all the money in the world. My 401k is killing it. I've got more money than I ever have. I make money when the market goes down. That is exceptional. Don't change a thing you're doing. Don't. Just understand. There comes a point, and this is why I went to school for so long, 3 master's degrees, specifically to ascertain one big question. How can we be certain we don't run out of money during retirement? That's it. Now, we call it behavioral finance and quantitative economics and distribution economics, but those are just a bunch of highfalutin words that really means make sure I don't go broke or am living in a refrigerator box down by the river, John, which is a big deal. So the one thing I would say is that if you don't need an advisor, then you don't need an advisor, and I totally agree with that. But there are a bunch of things that was just said by Jack Otter that I think I do agree with. But one of the biggest things, though, when it comes down to people managing their own finances is they are typically not aware of the fees they're paying. And I'm not just talking about those internal fees. I'm talking there's a whole bunch of extra things that many times we're paying, either because the type of account we have or we have money in the wrong account that makes a big difference. As a matter of fact, there was a couple that came in last week. And we were going through their stuff. And I'll be honest with you, Heather, I thought that they had a really well-positioned portfolio for where they were in their retirement progress. They were about 4 years away from retirement. They had a bunch of really good quality stuff. They had some Vanguard stuff, which I'm always a huge fan of because it's done well. It's very inexpensive and they're very transparent. I like that. And they had some other things that were perfectly fine. They weren't terrible. But what they did not know, Heather, is how much they were paying in fees. We discovered that they were paying on average between their 401ks and their IRAs a little over 2.63% on their investments. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you can go to Vanguard on your own and potentially pay 0.04%, okay, they were paying about, what is that, 100 bazillionth more, times more in fees? But let's do a real number to it.
Yeah.
Because I did a real number to it.
Okay.
They paid $48,000 in fees last year.
Wow.
And had they been at Vanguard alone, they would have paid less than $3,200.
Wow.
So that's about $40,000 that they would have saved in fees in 1 year. Now, how long have they been doing this way? Heather, for about 20 years.
Oh, no.
So you start doing the math. How much money is that? So one of the biggest things about understanding what you're investing in is, number one, how much does it cost? Because believe it or not, this couple was able to hire our firm, and they were still able to save an unbelievable amount of money even after they hired us based on what they were paying. That's the whole thing. Sometimes it's actually just making certain that you're getting what you need and not overpaying. And that's the one thing about having a skilled fiduciary. That's their whole job, to make sure you do that. So the first thing that I would say, and there, by the way, there are 5 major things that we need to all consider. Should we work with an advisor or not? Number one is fees.
Okay.
They don't cost you often. As a matter of fact, a quality advisor should actually save you money or make you more. Okay, so it's a big difference.
Okay.
So number one is fees. Here's the big one, though. I think that the majority of folks I see out there where they can just use a little bit of help or some guidance, lack of a disciplined strategy. Because here's the one thing I would tell you. If anyone's ever met with me, you know I don't have a problem with any strategy out there. It just has to work with your risk tolerance, where you are in the retirement horizon, and if it's going to accomplish the goals that you specifically tell me. But there is nothing I won't consider. We'll look at individual stocks that are dividend payers. We'll look at structured notes. If you want an annuity, you can do that. I think there are better options this day and age for income, though, that you can consider. We will explore all the Vanguard options. We'll explore exchange traded funds. Now, the one thing that I will not do for our clients, I will not put them in mutual funds for 3 major reasons. Number one, they're more expensive. Period. So if you're out there and you own mutual funds and you're hearing me say this, my question to you is, why? Why do we still own mutual funds after I see week after week after week after week? You can do better, do cheaper, and you don't have to hire me to do it. They're typically called exchange traded funds. So we will never use mutual funds because they are expensive. Number 2, you can't control your taxes. That's another main focus. I believe that we should have strategies to help control our taxes whenever possible.
Right.
Mutual funds do not allow that. As a matter of fact, they often are the bane of our existence when it comes to dealing with taxes. So that's another thing. And number 3, you cannot hedge them against loss. Mutual funds do not allow you to put triggers on them. So when it goes really, really wrong, guess what, guys? You're stuck in that sucker until the next full market day. You're going to get the worst price of the day when it sells, because it does it for everyone, just like socialism. It sells everyone at the exact same price at the end of that business day, and often that will destroy long-term returns. So that's why I think you should always graduate past mutual funds. But my point to having a disciplined approach, most people don't even know that part.
Right.
So then they don't know what to put in that disciplined approach.
Right.
And by the way, guys, there are so many things that you can utilize. You can use growth strategies. You can use value investing strategies. You can use dividend strategies. You can use loss mitigation styles. You can use ETFs that focus on beta. You can do all these number of things. But here's the problem, Heather. Most people, they do it this way for a couple months, and it doesn't work the way they want, and they change it.
Okay.
And then they change it.
Got it.
In long term, I'll promise you, because I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of statements that promise and prove this, that unfortunately by all that moving around, we have hurt our rate of return 5 times the cost of a skilled fiduciary advisor. And that's the big thing. We need a disciplined approach, because we're going into retirement. It's about how we pull the money out. We've already done all the saving we need to do. Now we need to make sure that we can pull it out and spend the most after taxes.
Okay.
And then that's the third piece of the puzzle, is tax planning. So number 1, we have to understand it's as simple as not having a full-blown tax plan. Sometimes as simple as, do you own your high-flying stocks? Do you own them in a taxable or a tax-deferred account? Because you're going to pay a ton more taxes. If you own them in a Roth, you're 10 times better off. So it's just sometimes where we have our funds. Which one should be in a taxable account? Well, those should be your individual equities. Where should we have our most explosive growth opportunities? Well, that typically should be in the Roth. Where should we have our income generation or our most conservative investments? Often that should be in our tax-deferred account. That simple thing right there, that simple understanding where to put things, often, Heather, is the difference between 1.25% to 1.5% a year of long-term gains in a portfolio. Just understanding the tax aspect of where should we put our funds. So huge. And so at the end, when you look at all this, and like I said, I do like Vanguard, and a lot of people out there, I know you guys do too. Vanguard has done a study for years called the Vanguard Advisor Alpha Study. And what they found is a skilled fiduciary only advisor when it comes to securities. They should save or make you, on average, 3% a year over the long term. Now, what's the long term? It's a full market cycle. So that means that typically you're talking between 5 and 8 years. You should typically see those results. Now, most people are only focused on the last, year and a half to 2 years.
Right.
Well, guys, we're just now ending a 13-year market cycle. So having said that, you understand. But when Vanguard themselves, the kings or queens, if you will, the royalty of transparent, inexpensive, exceptional quality investing specifically states in writing every year, so if you have a good advisor, they should add 3% a year over the long run, or at least a full market cycle, guys. That's a big deal. So I think that what Jack Otter was starting to say, I hope that I gave some real reasons. It doesn't mean that we're a fit for you guys. What it does meant to say is if you've ever been ripped off by a broker in the past, there was a reason. They were a broker, not a fiduciary advisor. If you've ever bought products instead of actually hiring someone to be the architect of what you want to accomplish, that unfortunately may have been why you had a bad decision. Or maybe you're out there right now thinking, you know what? I've got a guy. I like him. I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's ripping me off. Sometimes a second opinion is all you need to really find out, oh my gosh, I had no idea blank. It could be good. It could be positive. You could find out that you have the best guy for you ever. And believe me and my team, we will tell you. If you get a great situation, the last thing I want to do is step in the way of your happiness. Sure. But what I find more times than not is that sometimes little tweaks done correctly is going to add value to your happiness in the long run. Just make sure you're giving yourself the shot to find that happiness.
Have questions for John? Drop us an email at retirementsolutionradio.com.
J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Integrity Financial Planning Inc. is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through John Hicks, NPN number 2293473.